order. Bloomfield Hills Board of Education meeting, February 21st, 2019. Secretary, take attendance.
All board members are present.
Stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First we have, well, actually before we give the superintendent's report, since I don't have a president's report, I do want to say, on behalf of the board, we found out Rob found out some great news. He became a grandpa this week, so maybe as part of your superintendent's report, you can give us an update on how your grandson's doing.
Okay, thanks everybody. Yeah, it's my first grandchild, and it's kind of hard to know how to feel. It's a wonderful feeling. Yeah, Walker David Glass, born a couple days ago, 9 pounds, 13 ounces, healthy, happy, and so's mom and dad. So we're excited. Thanks. 9, 13, almost 10. Yeah. Big boy. Just a few things to run down, not a lengthy report tonight. Thanks for everybody's patience with the yet another snow day. It's not been a week without a snow day for a long time. So hopefully we're through most of that. And I think I mentioned in my last update that we eventually probably are going to get some makeup days from the state where we won't have to make them up, get some extra dispensation for the kind of winter it's been, but we will see. Some parents have asked that. And also we've had some parents inquire about the possibility of looking into some 2-hour delays and other mechanisms. And we have looked into that in the past. And we may do a 1 or 2 question survey or something to try to see what people think about that, because when you do mechanisms to try to solve an issue, sometimes you create other ones. So I just wanted to acknowledge, I appreciate the questions and the suggestions around that, and we'll continue to explore those, and if we can make it better, we will. I also had some parents express that they appreciated knowing the night before more this year than they have been able to know in the past, and that was due in large part to the timing of these storms, just being able to do that a little bit more. But we always try to do that when we can. So appreciate our family's patience with all of that. I had a really special visit to Bloomfield Hills High School. Dexter, a team from Dexter came. Now, for those of you who know me, that's the district that I came from before I came here, and they came to look at our high school. They'd been through before, but they came through again to look at some of the architectural features and some of the educational programming that's going on. And it was nice to see some old faces and some familiar faces and great colleagues. This week I've had a chance to have a visit to Eastover School and middle school. It was a wonderful visit, as always. Got to really dive into some great teaching lessons and experiences and learn more about the wonderful work they're doing there. And Principal Jason Rubel was very gracious and spent some time with me to take me a little deeper. And then a great meeting last night at West Hills for Superintendent's Dialogue. And Mr. Barron was there last night, and Ms. Cook was there last night, and it was a wonderful experience, and really some really good questions that came from the group. We, again, as we have in other dialogues, we went into the data a little bit, the big data, the small data, and how we use it to make it a better learning experience for children. And then this morning I had a chance to visit the Birmingham Bloomfield Chamber Board and tell them some of the great things going on in Bloomfield Hills schools. And it's always a treat to be able to spend some time with them. Lastly, I'll just mention that our cabinet team continues to work on building the strategic plan, action work plan. We're trying to do it very thoughtfully. We're using some models and patterns that are a little different than what we've done before. So it's a little more lengthy, but we think it's going to be a little more deeply owned and invested and understood by larger numbers of people when we're all finished, and we'll be updating the board regularly on that. But this is important just to let the community know that the strategic plan that was completed at the high level is continuing to be built out at a more detailed level. That's all for my report tonight. Thank you.
Okay, now we'll move to public comment. We have one card, Steve Ezrich.
I want to summarize some IA and QIA issues I feel the community needs to understand better. In just the past 2 months, 8 different people wrote this board and Bloomfield Hills about QIA abuses, providing considerable documentation. At least 6 former IA colleagues also came forward to confirm past abuses at the IA itself. Students spoke of intimidation and retaliation by IA administrators for raising suicidal concerns. All of these issues are linked by a distressing and indefensible lack of oversight. The IA principal, a Bloomfield Hills administrator, got Joint Steering Committee and Bloomfield approval for her husband's company to use the IA's public resources to seek huge profits, granting it the sole authority to represent the IA and thus Bloomfield in China. Many people relied on Bloomfield's governance and oversight in deciding to join the QIA, myself included. Again, I'm not alone. 8 different people complained of abuses and various alleged frauds by your authorized representatives. 6 IA veterans risked retaliation to confirm to this board numerous past abuses and unethical practices at the IA. The worst offenses would make the community shudder. I won't mention them here tonight. Almost all concerns ever raised went nowhere. Sadly, this admitted failure of oversight is now affecting the reputation of the IA and the Bloomfield Hills School District. I'm genuinely sad about this. As an economist, I must take issue with the statement that no district funds or taxpayer funds were used for the QIA. Besides the impact on the IA's and Bloomfield's reputation and the possibility that taxpayer funds were directly used to fund related junkets to India in the past, I would focus attention on the district's single biggest expense, the compensation of teachers and administrators. Countless IA staff meetings across 3 campuses devoted largely to QIA updates, arguably at the expense of regular school business, represents hundreds of individual work hours requiring compensation. Think about the many hundreds of hours spent creating policies, course descriptions, etc., that were simply given to QIA, and the many hours spent tutoring inexperienced QIA teachers. And what about the countless administration hours and legal fees expended over the past few years involved in trying to escape responsibility for QIA abuses and apparently avoid any public scrutiny? These are very substantial, real costs, and this doesn't even address concerns about PI contributions and spending which were never audited. I honestly don't know if Joint Steering Committee members or even this board were aware at the time of authorization that the IA's principal was actually married to the person pursuing huge profits from a business partnership with the IA. This wasn't just a sister school. But at least one BH assistant superintendent knew, and the district's attorney and presumably Bloomfield superintendent knew no later than February 2017. And then they apparently took steps, some of which may indicate intent to act illegally, to escape responsibility and hide it from public scrutiny. Only after I complained publicly to this board, only after parents were forced to FOIA district records and confront the board publicly, only after Professor Costello had to publicly readdress continuing violations and threaten a lawsuit after years of disdained grievances, was Bloomfield finally forced to admit years of illegal operations and lack of oversight of the IA. And even then, the district's attorney had to seek outside counsel to recognize this. It would seem that Bloomfield needs better counsel. I love the IA, and I do not stand with anyone trying to harm the school. But I also believe, as do many others, that the IA has earned its great reputation through the deep trust and relationships developed between remarkable teachers and outstanding students in spite of administration, not because of it. Personally, I don't think it's enough just to finally admit these failures and promise to do better in the future. Good people, young families have been harmed by your authorized representatives. While it's still an open question if Bloomfield and its consortium partners may bear legal responsibility for the misdeeds of its administrators and agents, moral responsibility is clear. What message are we sending to our children as we try to instill in them a fundamental sense of integrity, of right and wrong when faced with life's challenges, if we don't have the courage to walk the talk ourselves? Thanks.
Amelia Ascari.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for giving me this opportunity again. I also am here to talk some more about the International Academy. As you know, we have, as a group, several members of the community here in Michigan and former QIA employees have used the Freedom of Information Act to get some information from the district. And I wanted to update you on that information. I wanted to share it with the public as well, because I do think that's an important part of the process. And I want to state that I stand in disagreement with your policy or your decision last week, continue to disagree with the policy of not admitting documents into the public record that are submitted for public comment. It's not something that I want to push at this second, because I realize you're very busy with other things, but I do want to continue to register concern about that, and I want to explain why I think it's important to be to give the public access to the documents, and that is in a school setting. People are often engaged in a particular school for only 4 years while they're, say, a high school. The International Academy. They come from around the county. They don't have prior relationships with parents, and they take a long time to get up to speed and to know what's going on. It's very important to create a public record that people can access so that they really understand what the previous issues and complaints have been. So I hope we can find a way to work on that. I also want to mention that community members and students have created some public places where we are posting some of these documents. I'm going to read the web addresses. They are shortened web addresses. They all begin with the phrase BIT, like bit, period, LY, and a /. So if you look at bit.ly/China IA, you'll find a Google Drive with a lot of documents in it. bit.ly/China IA1 is the online petition that the students created. We have China IA2, bit.ly/China IA2. And 3 and 4 are copies of the videos of these board meetings if people want to find them easily. And then we are also using bit.ly/China IA5 for the China IA QIA link, so people can see what's going on. So we have here almost $2,000 worth of bills that we received at cost of almost $2,000 to the community members here. And these have all been reviewed and redacted by district staff. And we want to enter them into the public record because they show that the district has been consulting with attorneys about Open Meeting Act issues and about revision of the IA consortium agreement over a period of years. And this seems to contradict the story that we've heard from you, Rob Glass, and I know this is not an interactive moment, but I do hope you will take time to answer questions and clarify what you meant when you said to Asher Lukart, a journalist with the Seaholm Highlander, that your efforts to revise this consortium agreement, which defines what the Joint Steering Committee does, it began in 2014 after the clinic sent its first letter, and then you
1 minute.
Okay, you mentioned Chris Barnett, who is no longer working for the district. And you say that it was all her idea to go ahead and revise the consortium agreement to make the Joint Steering Committee advisory only, which would in effect make it no longer open under the Open Meetings Act. And it seems, though, in retrospect, that you were actually consulting with attorneys on this issue, on how to revise the consortium agreement. And those attorneys must have known that revising the agreement to make the Joint Steering Committee advisory would make it no longer accessible to the public, and so it seems like this was intentional. So we're seeing an intent to to avoid public scrutiny of the International Academy, and that's very, very troubling. I do hope you can answer how it could have been that attorneys were consulting on this and we're not clear with you about that. Thank you.
We go to consent agenda.
I move that the Board of Education approve the recommendations detailed in the consent agenda as follows. Request to approve minutes from a study session of February 4th. Request to approve minutes of a closed session of February 4th. Request to approve minutes of a regular meeting of February 7th. Request to approve graduation requirement changes. Request to approve monthly financial reports. Request to approve disbursement reports. Request to approve audit service reappointment. Request to approve talent, ED, EPI, and perform. Request to approve final contract payment for February 2019. Request to approve bid number 1025, which is district-wide roofing repairs, and 1026, which is roofing replacement at West Hills.
Do I have support? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? No, actually, consent, forget that. General discussion, report of the FFLA. So I'll give the report. I sat in for Mark Bank, chair of the committee. The committee members there was Howard Barron, Lisa Efros, Rob Glass was there, Brian Goby, Kelly Boyle, Tina Kozak. First thing we discussed was the student exit process. So Shiragood gave a presentation on when students are thinking or considering leaving the district, what's the process. So we discussed the current process and discussed what the future plans are to capture as much information as possible when students leave the district. Then we went into a capital project funds overview where Tina provided a snapshot of where we are in terms of sinking fund, capital improvement fund, and the capital equipment fund. Then David Shulkin gave a technology update regarding the needs over the district in the next couple of years. Brian Goby gave us a roofing update, includes estimated roofing work for the 2019-2020 year. A complete list of sinking fund projects is going to be presented to the board in a March meeting. We got a food services update where there's a request for proposal out there. 5 companies attended a mandatory pre-bid and toured BHMS, CONIT, and BHHS, including working with the nutrition group, Variety Foods. About 12 evaluation committee members are right now looking at the RFP. And then we talked about the audit extension. So on February 21st, the board meeting, we included a recommendation to reappoint Plant Moran as the district's independent auditors. And that's the update of the FFLA meeting. Any comments? Next is the IA Ad Hoc Committee update report. Jennifer?
Hi. So yesterday, here at the district office, we hosted the first IA task force meeting. And serving on the task force from Bloomfield is our IA Ad Hoc Committee, which is comprised of myself, Paul Colin, and Lisa Efros. All 13 consortium districts were invited to this meeting and will be continued to be invited to future meetings. Yesterday, several districts attended, including the 3 landlord districts, so ourselves for the Central Campus, Huron Valley for the West Campus, and Troy for the East Campus. And in total of the districts represented yesterday, that this comprised a heavy majority of the current student body of the IA. All attendees of the task force meetings will be neutral parties who have never been directly involved with the JSC and no prior involvement with the QIA situation. We engaged for about 2 hours in a fact-based discussion and had a question and answer session based on documents that we've been receiving and reviewing since the fall. We discussed, based on available information and based on community feedback, what questions we are trying to answer and how we define our role as partners, consortium districts in the task force. We discussed broadly, we discussed the IA structure, past, present, possibly future. We discussed issues of mental health. We discussed the status of oversight of this unique organization, the International Academy. We discussed our process as a task force, which will be fleshed out further going forward. And we would like to tell the board and the community that the next Joint Steering Committee meeting is on March 4th. I believe that's a Monday, 6 p.m. at the Troy District offices. The JSC meetings will be rotating per district, as they always have.
Thanks, Jennifer. Any questions, comments? Okay.
Here's one, do you have a timeline?
Our mental sketch of this is that the task force will be in existence for 3 months, we hope, at which point we will move into phase 2, which is the addressing of the consortium agreement itself. We are not tasking ourselves with that at this time.
Thank you.
Legislative update.
I don't have a lot to say. The governor has given her state of state. The new committees have been established and they're getting to work. And however, you were at legislative Oakland Schools last week. Did you have anything else to add?
One of our 2 lobbyists, Lisa Hensknecht, was there. And as Cynthia said, the major thing right now is the governor's state of the state, which happened a few weeks ago, and the budget proposal, which will be coming out in the first week of March. Let me just I have an excerpt from the governor's statement, or state of the state, and related to education. I'll just read a very quick paragraph of what she said. Our educators deserve our support. Not a funding crisis that undermines their work, weakens our schools, and hurts our kids. We know that potential is universal, but right now opportunity is not. Our students are not broken. Our teachers are not broken. It's our system that's broken. We can't fix it overnight, and greater investment alone won't be enough. But we're going to do it because nearly 2 million kids are counting on us.
Thank you, Howard. Any questions, comments? Okay. With that, we go into board business. There's MSAB elections, and 2 of our board members have done a lot of work presenting their recommendations. And do I have a motion?
First, on item A, Michigan Association of School Board Directors, candidate vote for Group 5. At this point, Howard and I have had some conversation. For Group 5, we are recommending that the board vote for Steve Heyer of Clarkston Community Schools. It has long been the continuing goal of Oakland County School Board Association. Our legislative committee has discussed perennial for 20 years, that we continue to advocate for having representation on the Michigan Association of School Boards Board of Directors from Oakland County. And so that's a key piece of our focus here. And Steve has been very involved and understands the top issues, and he's effective on talking about issues that affect all of us.
Well, again, thank you very much for doing.
Let me just add
Okay.
one other piece. This Group 5, the MASB board is made up of both geographical groups and, is it groups? Now I got, geographical regions, and then groups. And groups is based on student count. And we're in Group 5, which is 5,000 to 10,000 students. So the candidates are from all over the state based upon the size of the district. So it's very lucky that we have Mr. Heyer there, who happens to be in Oakland County. So Oakland County, if Steve wins, will get a little bit more representation, not only because of the geography, but because of this group, which is based on the student count.
Great. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I move that the board support Steve Heyer for Region 5.
Group 5.
Group 5, excuse me.
Do I have support?
Support.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. for Board Business B. We had another for Region 8.
And for the same reason, we are supporting Birgit McQuiston, yes, from Lake Orion Schools, who is current president of the Lake Orion School Board, to assume that position. Birgit is currently on the LCSBA Board of Directors, and I think she will do a fine job representing us.
And Region 8 incorporates Oakland, Macomb, and Wayne County. So again, having an Oakland County representative would be wonderful. This seat previously was occupied by Brenda Carter, who was from the Pontiac School District and had been president of the Oakland County, or president of MASB, and has since been elevated, and she won an election, so is now in the Michigan House of Representatives.
Do I have a motion?
I move the Michigan School Board candidate vote for Region 8 for Bloomfield Hills, that we vote for Birgit McQuiston.
Do I have support?
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Next thing is C, request to approve the board meeting dates for the 2019-2020 calendar year. Do I have a motion?
I move the Board of Education approve the schedule of board meeting days for the 2019-20 school year as presented.
Any comments? Do I have support? Support. Any comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Next on D, request, I know we had a discussion at BIC and we had a first reading, so the next item on the agenda is to request to accept the high school course description book. Do I have a motion?
I move the Board of Education approve the I move that we accept the high school course description book.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Next is the 2018-2019 mid-year budget revisions. I know Tina has presented to us in the past. We've looked into it in detail. So with that, do I have a motion?
I move that the Board of Education adopt the mid-year budget revision for the fiscal year 2018-19 as detailed in the attachments and as summarized in the agenda.
Do I have support?
Support.
All those in favor say aye. Oh, any discussion? Sorry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Before I say closing comments, I do want to thank our TV crew, Josh Ballin, Shannon Stringer, and of course, Vicki Chandler. With that, adjournment.